Hello, Evan.
Hello, Darren.
We're back. This is our third recording, and we'll see. I enjoyed doing the first two. I think we're having some fun. It's we're doing some poetry stuff, like you do in America today, reading poetry, discussing poetry. No, seriously, it's been fun so far, and we're just started.
Absolutely. And for us, it's the new year.
It is, yes, 2026, and all kinds of things are happening. We're talking about poetry. We're not talking about politics on this podcast, and so not another thing needs to be said about the world out there.
And poetry never, ever gets political.
No, never, ever.
Never, ever.
Although, actually, don't you find that poetry is a valuable way to escape the news of the day and just put your head in a different place?
Yeah. It can be a good way to escape. It can be a good way to reframe things sometimes, or see that things have been bad in many different times.
In
People have written
history,
about it.
for generations, for centuries, for millennia, and there are poems that speak to the difficulties in other places and other times.
Yeah, but there's always also been flowers and things like that.
There's always what? Say that again?
Flowers and things like that.
Yes, there are other things we can focus. We can stop and smell the roses, Evan. That's never a bad idea.
Exactly.
No, but certainly poetry is a way. I know it's helped me to escape. I listen to a lot of podcasts that are news podcasts, and lately I've been listening to a lot of poetry podcasts, and that puts your head in a completely different place than a rage-inducing political podcast.
Well, and when you're listening to news, at least I feel like it changes so quickly. You know, that if you're listening to a poetry podcast, ours or otherwise, you know, there's a bit of, you can sit with it longer. You know, it doesn't immediately change.
Very, very good. And you can breathe, and you can sit with it, and you can read that poem over and over again, and find others like it, and find others by the same author. And your life slows down, your brain slows down, your breathing slows down in many cases. There's a lot of benefit. Well, we're going to be talking about this as we continue with this podcast, the benefits of poetry and taking in poetry and finding time in your life for poetry or a poetry podcast.
Absolutely. And I think slowing down the brain is a good thing sometimes.
It is.
I think it is. Maybe a lot of times.
Yeah. If you're not slowing down your brain ever, you feel like you're too busy to ever slow down, well, you need to read a poem, maybe just even a short poem.
Yeah, well, we've got a guy who wrote some short poems that we're going to talk about today, Stephen Crane. Had you heard of him before? Had you heard
of course, the
Red Badge of Courage?
Yeah.
Did you ever read that?
I might have a zillion years ago. Did you ever read it?
I haven't. It's his great work, but I've really only read his poetry.
Well, he was 1871 is when he died. I think he was a 19th century guy, and he had this realistic way of writing, a new realism that he brought to writing. And he's a signal figure in the history of letters in this country and in the world.
Oh yeah, well, and his poetry I think is underappreciated for what it was, because at the time he's this young guy. Walt Whitman has come out with his long lines of poetry that some people didn't think was poetry. Dickinson had happened. He'd apparently read one of her books.
You mean Stephen Crane had?
Stephen Crane had, yeah. He
read one of Emily Dickinson's books.
And he went, and this may be apocryphal, but he apparently went and wrote for a weekend, and his entire first book of poems was finished.
Wow.
After reading her book of poetry. And, he didn't write very much poetry. Well, he wrote a lot considering, but he died at the age of 28. So we don't really have everything he possibly could have done. But
I did find his book, The Black Riders and Other Lines, out of which I think you found, well, that poem is in, the poem that we're going to talk about today is in that book. And I have it in that book as just poem number 18. No, actually, that's a different one. Actually, it's a poem number 3.
Yeah.
It's poem number 3. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, this sort of I mean, we haven't even read any poetry yet, but it sort of makes you want to ask the question, what is a poem? Does a poem have to have a title? Does a poem have to have rhythm in it? Some people wrote about the fact that they thought that he was not writing poetry, that these were not poems. He got some fairly critical reviews of this stuff because it was different, and especially for the 1800s, late 1800s, you know, writing poetry that is free but not in the way Walt Whitman was. This one, it's these little tiny chunks. If you look up one of these poems, you can see that they're not long, and they're very chunky. You know, a little chunk of text.
These are from the book. We're talking about the book, The Black Riders and Other Lines. This book is available free through the Gutenberg Project. I was able to easily find it for free. Stephen Crane spelled Crane. Well, all this stuff is going to be in the show notes. The Black Riders and Other Lines is the book. And well, terrific. Well, how shall we proceed, Evan?
Well, I know you got to read some of them. Which poem would you like to read from that?
Well, I will read a different. You mentioned Stephen Crane. Were you interested in that poem number 3? Was that your intention?
We can read any of them. If any of them struck you, we could read it.
Well, let's start with poem number 3. This is the thing that pulled Stephen Crane into my consciousness recently when you brought this up, and it's called, well, it's just capital number 3 in the book, The Black Riders and Other Lines, and we've seen it with a title as well. You have it as with a title too, right?
Let me see. What is the first line of this one?
It is In the Desert.
Oh yes, yeah, of course. Yeah, this is a great one. In the Desert by Stephen Crane. Some people call it the first line. They use that as the title, but I kind of like that it's just number 3. You know.
Yeah.
It's sort of different.
Shall I read it?
Yeah. How about that?
Okay, I'll have at it here. Okay. However you want to call it, number 3 or In the Desert. This is by Stephen Crane. In the desert, I saw a creature, naked, bestial, who, squatting upon the ground, held his heart in his hands and ate of it. I said, "Is it good, friend?" "It is bitter, bitter," he answered. "But I like it because it is bitter, and because it is my heart."
Wow. Well, that is different than any poem we've read so far on this podcast.
Again, as we've discussed, Evan, we're not going to talk about what it means. We're not going to, as Billy Collins would say, we're not going to tie it to a chair and beat it with a rubber hose until it gives up
us
its
a
meaning.
confession. Yeah.
We just let it wash over us, and it's just such an image, in the desert. So the author is just walking along, and he sees this creature, naked, bestial. He does not say it's a man. He says,
No.
I saw a creature.
It could be anything. I mean, when I read this, I sort of get like a flash of a memory of somebody else or something. It feels like a flash that sort of shakes me up, but in a good way.
I get this kind of post-apocalyptic vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's this bleak area, and it's in the desert. A creature, naked, bestial. So, what made him bestial? Is he unclothed? Is he dirty? Is he like a hairy little animal? What makes a creature bestial?
And he's holding his heart in his hands, eating it. I mean, it's just such a intense image.
Yeah.
But then, I think it's interesting that we see this creature eating the heart, and the speaker's question to this person is not to run away or to say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
It's, "Is it good, friend?
Is it good, comma, friend? Question mark.
Is it good, friend?" And so, it's this sort of gentle approach to this intense scene, which I see as kind of a turn there, because you wouldn't expect us to go up to somebody like this and just say, "Hey, is it good?" And
yeah.
I don't know, that's it's almost frightening. It's almost frightening.
Yeah, yeah. You wonder what's happening, and we just take it in, and there's a gentleness. The author approaches him. He doesn't say, "Yeah, exactly what you said." What do you stop, dear Lord? What's going on here? He doesn't run away. He's not frightened. He just engages with him, and there's this kind of moment of sharing a fellow feeling, because he's entering into a dialogue. If you're asking a question, that means, I want you to respond to me. We're going to have a conversation. Is it good, friend?
Yeah, and he says it's bitter, but I like it. There's a space in between this. It's bitter, he answered, but I like it because it is bitter and because it is my heart. And it almost feels like we are now charged with doing something about that with ourselves. I mean, is our heart bitter?
Yeah.
Yeah. But are we able to like it?
And the way Crane writes it, he doesn't just say bitter. After the question, "Is it good, friend?" and the person or the creature responds, "It is bitter, bitter." And that's spelled bitter bitter. So it's not just bitter, it is bitter, bitter. And it's not. It doesn't seem like it's a hesitation. Like it is bitter, bitter. No, it's like it's not just bitter. It's bitter, bitter.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm kind of curious. How did this poem strike you when you first read it? Because it is a little different than a lot of the ones that we first looked at.
It is. You just instantly get this image of this desert and this creature and this whatever, who or whatever he is sitting on the ground. It just gives you that image right away. And there's some ownership. The creature, because it is bitter and because it is my heart. And the ownership, or that's the part of his body, or why is he, there's a pride there, and we're determining what that's about. And again, we're not trying to necessarily say this means that, but we're just saying, letting it wash over us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this poem is I like particularly because my former professor, mentor, friend Mike Tooney, who I'm hoping will be on this podcast soon with us, he always would give me recommendations for different poems to read and poets to read. And this is one. He pulled out the book and he read me this poem. And it was sort of this intense experience of, oh my God, this is different than anything I've heard before. And I didn't realize Stephen Crane, I didn't know who he was, first of all, but I didn't realize he was from the 1800s. I thought this was something from the last 50 years. Because it felt to me modern. And sort of edgy and interesting, but it really sort of opened my world a little bit to see that this was somebody many, many years before me who is writing in this way that feels new and interesting.
I think what I'm also getting from this, Stephen Crane, Red Badge of Courage, Civil War experiences and wartime experiences. And so in the poetry in this book, The Black Riders and Other Lines, you can't help but imagine Crane's experience seeing death, seeing war, seeing the most brutal kinds of war during the Civil War. And so that seems to come into, that seems like an overlayment or kind of a overshadowing of his work when I read his work.
Well, could I read one more that's maybe a little different than this one by him?
Absolutely.
Number 35,
Sure.
XXXV. A man saw a ball of gold in the sky is what they sometimes title it.
I've got it right here. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, this is 35. A man saw a ball of gold in the sky. He climbed for it, and eventually he achieved it. It was clay. Now this is the strange part. When the man went to the earth and looked again, lo, There was the ball of gold. Now this is the strange part. It was a ball of gold. Aye, by the heavens, it was a ball of gold.
That's great. That's really great.
I don't know. I don't have much more to say other than I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
I just enjoy this poem, you know?
Yeah, and it just there are images, and it's just there it was. I think what I take away immediately is all that glisters is not gold. All that glitters is not gold is the way it's written sometimes.
Yeah.
And so you saw a ball of gold in the sky, and is it really gold? And do we want it? Do we care about it? Do we? And he achieved it, and he climbed for it, and eventually he achieved it. And we're assuming, again, it doesn't say this explicitly, we're assuming he grabs it and pulls it to him, and he looks at it, wait a minute, this isn't gold, this is clay.
Well, it's almost funny. I mean, I also see this poem almost as a how to read a Stephen Crane poem, you know, because you see this little chunk of text, you pull it, and it's not what you expected.
Yeah.
And then you look, and it's like, oh, this is the strange part. But then you keep reading, and oh, no, this is the strange part. And I love that repetition of, now this is the strange part. It was a ball of gold. But then, as though he didn't already say that, now this is the strange part. It was a ball of gold. It's just
Yeah,
funny to me.
yeah,
It's interesting and strange. This is a strange poem.
Please read it again.
Sure thing. A man saw a ball of gold in the sky. He climbed for it, and eventually he achieved it. It was clay. Now this is the strange part. When the man went to the earth and looked again, lo, there was the ball of gold. Now this is the strange part. It was a ball of gold. Aye, by the heavens, it was a ball of gold.
You know, you're a comedy person, I'm a comedy person. You know, the nature of repetition, there are things you do with language. You know, he repeats the line, now this is the strange part, twice. And there's humor in this. There's humor.
There is.
Yeah. Now this is the strange part. When the man went to the earth and looked again, lo, there was a ball of gold. Now this is the strange part. He says that again, and then, yeah, it was a ball of gold. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, to tie in an improv teacher that we both know, David Rosowski, who wrote the book A Subversive's Guide to Improv, and I've been to a couple of his classes, and he always really harps on us that repetition is not redundancy. He wants you, if you say something and it feels good to say, he wants you to say it again. And that's sort of how this feels, is that is that he was like, this just feels good to write. This feels good to say, you know. And I think that's that especially in poetry, repetition can be, it doesn't necessarily have to mean this is so important. It could be that it just feels really good and is interesting or has some aspect of it that begs to be spoken once more.
Absolutely. Great choice. Both of these Stephen Crane poems, and we may, if we keep doing this, we're having fun so far. We just started, but if we keep doing this, might run into Stephen Crane again.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of interesting ones.
Yeah, and you know why? And yes, a young man in the late 19th century. Why is he writing poetry? Well, he's a writer, you know. So.
And you know, I think there's this great quote. Is it Auster? Yeah, it's from Paul Auster. He wrote a book about Stephen Crane, and he says that Crane is America's answer to Keats. And obviously that's not an intentional answer, but there is sort of a parallel to Keats, who was a young poet who wrote these prolific letters and poetry, and then now maybe America has this other poet who's a little rougher around the edges. But that's sort of the American version of a great poet who died too young.
Well, very good. Well, that's we're We're just doing these little episodes, folks, exploring a poem or two and talking about it and how we take it in. And hopefully you find this useful, or it maybe gets you thinking about poetry or reading poetry or finding the poems we talk about and exploring further. But we thank you very, very much if you're listening to us, and especially if you're listening to us and you've never met either one of us. Wouldn't that be a thing, Evan? If people that we don't know.
That would be incredible. Although I do appreciate all of those who know us that are also listening.
We thank you too. Yes, we thank you too.
That might even be more surprising.
Siblings, parents. Oh, boy. Yeah, everybody, thank you for joining us for another episode of The Poetic Turn. That's what we're calling this. We're just getting started, and we hope you've enjoyed listening even half as much as we've enjoyed doing the recording, because we're having fun with this.
Absolutely. This has been terrific.
I think so too, Evan. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well,
would your later
chord?
Wow.
I keep. It's more of a. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. It's a technical thing. The words come in the eyes, they come out the mouth. They come in the eyes, they go out the mouth. And some of it you remember, most of it you don't. You're just generating content. You're generating pretty sounds.
Yeah, I feel that when I read out loud sometimes. I'm like, wait a second. I don't know what I just said.
Yeah, I hate the sound of my voice. Well, you better not. You stay out of voiceover then, because you're going to be hearing it a lot. Well, thanks so much, Evan, and we'll be in touch like always, brother.
Yes, indeed. Well, Happy New Year.
Happy darn New Year, brother. Take care.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.